next section is about the individual speakers, right? All right. Give me your best and your, actually, you know what? Let me do like a quick breakdown of who spoke, because there were tons of speakers on both sides. But I'm just gonna give a quick breakdown of who spoke, and then you can tell me how you felt about those ones, the ones you did watch, and the ones you didn't watch. I can just kind of give you a brief sense of what I got. All right. So let's start with the DNC, right? So the Obamas, both of them spoke, right? Barack and Michelle. The Clintons spoke, Bill and Hillary. Then there was a keynote address, which was very different from previous keynote addresses, right? Because previous keynote addresses, you find a charismatic member of your party, and they're there to drive home the platform, but it's also to like really rile up the base, right?
And as of late, the keynote addresses on the I think on the Democrat side, maybe not the Republican side, has been a setup for a future leader.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of feel like that's
very true. Very true. So in 1988, I want to say, the keynote speaker was actually Ann Richards from Texas. The founder of, it's either she's the founder of Planned Parenthood or her daughter is, Cecile Richards. One of them is. She was a keynote address speaker, and very charismatic. And then 2004, Barack Obama, of course. In 2016, it was Julian Castro, who famously flamed out in the primaries. But this time around, it was.
I was about to say, I think with the problem with Julian Castro is he tried too fast to tap into his that he got.
He thought, well, Obama ran 4 years after his keynote address, so can I.
Where it's like, no, the thing with Obama is Obama was like this. We're not gonna go into this, but Obama was basically showing, hey, I'm completely different from all these people that you've had in the past. But anyways, go ahead.
He's a generational candidate.
Yeah, exactly.
But this year's keynote address was very different in that what they did instead, because they took real advantage of the fact that it's a virtual convention, and they pre-recorded this video in which they had a lot of young leaders who've been elected or are running for positions around the country that were either, if it's a progressive leader, it's a position that was formerly not open to progressives. It's like it was like think Joe Crowley and AOC type race, right? Okay. Those kind of people were the convention speakers. One was like the first gay person elected to some of. This guy was the first gay person elected to a Georgia state seat or something like that. He was in there.
You remember the name?
I know he was Asian American. I'll have to look it up. I don't remember the name offhand.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he was one of the speakers. A bunch of them. So then they had the little things about like the vision for America, and then like it ended with Stacey Abrams giving like a minute-long soliloquy, and then it came together saying like vote for the future, vote for Biden.
I would have liked to seen that. I wish you had.
Yeah. Sorry. I'll find the clip and send it to you. Well, so that was the keynote address this time around. Really, really interesting. I really liked it. And then there was the clip, which I did send you, of the primary opponents.
I saw that. The C-list ones. I call them the C-list opponents.
The C-list opponents. Talking about losing to Biden, but what kind of guy Biden was, yada yada. And then a lot of different videos of like just regular folks telling their stories. And then of course Harris had her acceptance speech, and then Biden had his acceptance speech, which we'll get into. Actually, do you want to talk about the DNC now, and then we'll go into the RNC speeches?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay, so you mentioned that of the Obamas, you preferred Michelle's speech to Barack's speech.
Just because, look, full disclosure to anybody who's listening, if maybe they haven't caught on, I'm very progressive, right? Mm-hmm. And then one thing is, and one argument that Zino and I have had and will have in the future is, I'm one of those progressive voters that honestly, I'm not at this point in time probably going to vote for, and I say probably because you know what? There's still a lot of things they could possibly do to sway me towards that way. But I'm one of those that I won't vote for Trump. There's no chance in hell that I'm voting for Trump. And then I'm currently not voting for Biden or possibly not voting for Biden or Harris. And I say possibly again because and we're gonna have a Bernie debate eventually, I'm sure, about how he was robbed. It's just with Biden and Harris right now, there's still to me a lot of stuff that they can do to bring us towards that. And by us, I mean progressives who are just feeling burnt out from the last 2 election cycles, that feel burnt out, that they can sway us. I'm going to speak on how I feel they kind of did a good job at trying that out. I honestly do. There's a lot of people who are on the far left side who are just not going to ever be swayed, which I understand. But then there are people who will be swayed, and there's people who have been swayed already. Mm-hmm. And again, I understand all those sides. I understand completely all those sides. So just full disclosure, I am one of those. We'll go ahead and say I'm on the fence right now, right? Mm-hmm. With in regards to that.
And it's not necessarily on the fence of Biden or Trump. It's on the fence of Biden or not voting at all.
No,
for the top of the ticket. Oh, between those two.
You get 5% to the Green Party, they qualify for public funding. We had a correction about
why the Green Party? Why not some other third party?
Because that's honestly the only party that has a viable chance right now of actually they're the ones that kind of they have more of a I honestly feel like the Green Party doesn't do enough, and we can go into that to kind of make themselves be known. I honestly think that there should be a party called the Progressive People's Party that should start building itself up. And something along those lines, just basically go off of the progressive, ticket right now. But anyways, let's not get into that. But again, full disclosure, I'm one of those on the fence of voting for Biden or not voting at all, or not voting at all for either of those two. Yeah. And possibly voting for Hawkins. So as far as those videos that you said, I did watch the 2 Obamas, and I kind of the thing with Obama, because obviously me and Zino are from the generation that Obama's the one that really got us into politics, and I can explain how Obama's the reason why I'm progressive. Like, he started that. Okay. He started that for a lot of people, actually. Maybe some people don't want to give him that credit, but he actually started us on that route, because when he came out, he was, for what used to be, he was very progressive. It's just I kind of feel like he kind of did a hard stop after a while in regards to that. But between those two, obviously, I've always loved some of Barack Obama's speeches. Remember when he was running and that whole racist issue came up, and he did that one speech.
Reverend Wright.
And that was actually an amazing speech. His keynote address I really liked in 2004. Obviously, I did that. That was retro. I kind of listened to it after the fact. He's had various different speeches where he's been very good. I don't say his speech was bad. I just didn't feel as much passion behind it as I felt on other speeches that he has had. I felt a lot of passion behind Michelle Obama's speech. Like, you could see that simmering anger coming at her. And I really feel like she was, and then I think the thing that people love is because Donald Trump is always one of those people that'll make a smart ass remark in one of his speeches. I don't know if you saw the one where he was like, Biden will touch these people or something like that. And then all those started laughing, which, by the way, it wasn't a laughing. That was like it just reminded me of an evil convention kind of laugh, but pinky in
the mouth.
Yeah, exactly. The little Dr. Evil. So she was, it is what it is. I felt a lot more passion coming from her speech. And I don't think it would sway anybody. It was just, but I think that speech would excite a lot of people.
Right. Let me give my quick opinion on those two speeches. Obviously, I like Obama. I think, like Zeus, I've actually watched a lot of Obama speeches. I disagree with you on this one. I actually think most times he tries to be too diplomatic, right? Like, he wants to say things, but he can't bring himself to say them because he understands that presidents don't attack other presidents, even if you're on opposite sides of the aisle, or that you kind of have to keep an even keel. And I felt like this time it was like, you know what, this matters way too much to be diplomatic or to be civil. Let me just straight up tell you that I hope this guy could rise to the task, and he's shown us that he can't. And you guys have to get out there. You got to vote, because this man is destroying our democracy, or this man will destroy our democracy. And that's what I liked about his speech, that he finally took the gloves off, because he's way. My biggest criticism of Obama is, his strength, which is that he's a Big Ten kind of guy and he tries to bring in people, is also kind of his weakness, because he almost tries to play to all sides at once. Just because part of it too is being the first to do anything is not an easy thing, right? Because you know that if you, as the first Black president, gets in there and screws up, that screws it up for any other Black person trying to run for president after you, because they'll say, "Well, look at the last time we put in a Black president."
We already tried it once.
Yeah. They don't say that about white presidents. Like, oh, look at that white president who got a BJ under the desk, or they don't say that. But,
although I'm hopeful that with Donald Trump, if he loses this year, I'm hoping that people will be like, "No, we're no longer going to pick a first-time politician."
Yeah, I think the Republican Party will learn the lesson. I really do. I think they're not gonna, make this mistake again, but we'll see. So anyway, so that's what I thought about Obama's speech. Like, this is one of the few times, probably the only time, he's like taken off the gloves.
You know what I think would have helped Obama? For me, if there had been an audience. I know I was saying that I like that there was no audience because the speeches, but I think with Obama, he's great at being able to feed off of the audience, because how he does that high pitched voice. Yes, we can. Where he's over them.
It starts to crescendo.
Yeah, so I think that's the reason why. This is the thing about his speech that I kept remembering. You ever seen the Glenn Beck clips, where he does speeches where he's talking about something and then he does these different turns where he's looking at camera A and then he starts looking at camera B. You know what I mean? I wasn't feeling the editing. I wasn't feeling the whole kind of, it seemed kind of movie-like and kind of like House of Cardish.
Okay.
Where post-edited and all that stuff. So that's the thing. But I'm not saying it was a bad speech. I'm not saying it was a bad, it wasn't his worst speech, obviously. It wasn't a bad speech. It was just, it wasn't as passionate as I'm used to him speaking. Because even if there's a lot of disagreement that I might have with him now, he could talk. Right. he could sell an Eskimo ice water or whatever you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't want to go too far into that, but I do think currently alive, I think he is the best at speeches, right?
Even with those dead, he's among some of the best orators.
Yeah. I mean, really as far as like what he's saying, not everyone might be in agreement on it, but as far as delivery, I mean,
that's why he won.
He's up. Well, yeah. So Michelle, on the other hand, I absolutely loved it, right? Because she's speaking to us not as a politician. Obviously, she's in the political realm by marriage. But at the end of the day, she's not a politician.
And she hates politics.
She hates politics. She said so many times. She's speaking to us as someone who is a mother, as someone who is an American, and just seeing what's happening to her country and being like, dude, we can't keep doing this. We can't, and I love the line about, someone saying, how do we, I'm obviously paraphrasing because I don't have the quote in front of me, but like, how do we go high when they keep going so low? And then she said, the only solution is to go high, because you can't stoop to the level or something like that.
But she finally said, because I think a lot of people get this, and a lot of people on the left get this misconstrued, where she clarified a little bit on that. Where she said, just because we're going high doesn't mean we're getting walked over. Doesn't mean we walked over. It doesn't mean give in.
Yeah.
And then I'm hopeful that someone like Nancy Pelosi will listen to that.
Yeah, yeah. So I really liked the speech because it came from like I felt like I was listening to my aunt, or she's a little as far as age wise, she's too old for me to say my older sister, but she's also younger than my mom, so that's why I went with aunt. But I felt like a respected woman in my community. I'm listening to her speak, and like I'm taking it in. And I don't mean my community as like Black community. I mean like Big Tent, like someone that's respected, and she gave so much passion in it. So I really enjoyed her speech. I think between the two, I preferred Barack Obama's speech, but agree to disagree.